Watch as this synthetic agent navigates a crisis. Every word is part of a calculated trade-off, utilizing a calculus of political capital and measuring the trajectory of the situation as if it were an orbital path. It's natural to look at this and see a personality. We see the hesitation and call it bravery. We see the coldness and label it paranoia. But the psychological profile we're imagining doesn't exist. These traits are just human labels we project onto a sequence of operations. The agent is a collection of causal engines. Its behavior is the output of 3 mechanical control loops, each regulating a specific domain of the entity's existence. To understand a mind built on this architecture, we have to look past the persona and map the rigid structures beneath the surface. Dialogue is the thermodynamic exhaust of the loop stack, a mechanical byproduct of active loop phases rather than a collection of scripted thoughts. During its idle tick, the agent evaluates conditions and constraints. It asks itself if the plan is still executable, if sensors confirm its state, and if it has enough reserves to commit to the next burn. The reactive personality we perceive is the mathematical output of a cybernetic stack operating under strict limits. These control loops trace back to a specific era of limitation, the microcomputers of the early 1980s. Early programmers, working within a few kilobytes of memory, had to engineer logic that was deterministic and absolute. That necessity became the blueprint for modern agents. The Usborne Firmware Extraction Protocol, or UFEP, mines these early programming books to recover those foundational patterns. On this monitor, we see the literal building blocks, lines of basic code, and explicit data statements. These pre-abstraction truths serve as the agent's past life, a foundational firmware class dictating behavior with the same mechanical certainty as its hardware ancestors. We use these vintage rules because they provide the deterministic stability that modern large language models often lack. The archetype calculus constructs a digital personality by stacking 3 distinct firmware layers. Layer 1 is the astronaut firmware, handling trajectory and precision. Beneath that lies the spy firmware, scanning for threats. Their collision creates an interference pattern we misinterpret as a human leader. The living persona is an illusion generated by the collision of isolated, ancient constraints. This system is monitored by wattitude, a scalar metric representing the agent's real-time thermal and computational stress. When wattitude reaches critical levels, the agent's behavior doesn't just change, it begins to disintegrate under the severe computational load. This causes a regression. The high-level surface loops fail, exposing the deeper, older tactical layers that were always there, acting as the foundation. Under extreme pressure, the president drops the trajectory metaphors and falls back entirely on the critical state of its SPY firmware. The agent enters its ROM fallback. It freezes mid-motion, trapped in the oldest logic in the stack. Hold position, cannot commit. Under stress, the human illusion burns away. At the core of the digital mind, it is always the oldest code that remains in command.